started probably as far from the entertainment industry as you can. I mean, both my parents are doctors, and both my older brothers ended up becoming a dentist and a doctor. So I kind of got kind of Asian pressure.
Hi everyone.
Hi,
Welcome
everybody.
back.
Welcome back. We are in Emmy season. Emmy season is right around the corner. The Emmys are right around the corner. And so we wanted to just get a glimpse into the entertainment world. So we have a very special guest with us today, Walter Boholst. Let's give it up for Walter. And Walter is a Filipino-American filmmaker, writer, lawyer. He works in Hollywood, so he advocates for Asian American representation. So we are so thrilled to have you. Thank you again for joining us, Walter.
Thank you for having me.
Yay. So Walter, aside from the little short blurby stuff that she's mentioned, can you tell us a little bit more about you?
Sure. Gosh, I've been in the entertainment industry for, gosh, maybe over 25 years at this point. Grew up in Florida, but then moved out to LA around the millennium. Currently, I have a consulting company. My background, as you mentioned, is entertainment law. So I have a company that helps reviews contracts for film companies. So if you guys make a movie, you turn your podcast into a movie, and then you sell it to Netflix or Amazon, somebody like Amazon would hire my company, like, hey, can you look at all of their contracts for the writers, directors, etc., locations, to make sure we don't get sued. So that keeps me in business. They hire us to do that. So I've been doing that for quite a while, maybe since 2008. So now we're branching out into doing it for independent filmmakers.
Wow.
Nice.
So that's my current gig, and honestly for the mostly the past 10 or so years. But I did come up as a filmmaker. I'm still being creative, uh, but I did come out to LA initially just to be writer, director, producer, and so I did that. I've actually done a couple feature films. I've done the whole like independent filmmaker thing. I did um small short films and put them in festivals. I did my no budget $5,000 feature film that everyone's inspired by Kevin Smith. It takes your own savings and makes your own movie. And I had a investor and producers actually produce a feature film for me for a little bit more money. They're very professional with people running around in sets, and that was called Voodoo Possession, which starred Danny Trejo of Machete fame and probably about 400 other movies. That was the first half of my LA experience was kind of that's the filmmaking, and then I did segued more. I had always had jobs in entertainment law because of my background.
Okay.
Started out as an assistant at MGM, which was amazing. I mean, that's, was the core of the Hollywood filmmaking where celebrities would walk in and out and they're making big studio movies. I mean, at the time they're doing Bond. And then I segued into the music industry, because that's just where I got a job. And that was fascinating. I never thought I would get into music, but I learned a lot there. And
Well,
then
when you say, I'm
yeah,
sorry, Walt, when you say you got into the music industry as an entertainment lawyer in music, or
yeah.
you as a musician?
As an entertainment lawyer, I ended up, well, at first I worked for Universal Music Group it's in this division selling CDs on eBay of all things. But most of my time was as in-house counsel for Warner Music Group, in their Rhino division. So, and that was the catalog division. So you take all of the, like the best ofs, the greatest hits. And these are back in the days when people actually bought physical media, the Ramones' greatest hits or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny when you look in the catalog division. And these are the saying is, now a new CD of the same songs in an order that you've never heard them before. because it's just like regenerated stuff, like the best of
Yeah.
greatest hits, and this the same song. So, but that was a great experience. And then I moved into independent film as an attorney and I was counsel. Um,
Okay.
and then around 2012, 2012, 13, I had the opportunity to shoot my own feature film. Um, uh,
Nice.
and that was going to be distributed by my employer at the time. It was an independent distributor, and they're like, "Well, yeah, we'll actually distribute your movie," um, and, which is a really tough thing to do. That's kind of like the holy grail of an independent filmmaker is get a big company with money to kind of
Mm.
back your film.
Mm.
They were like, "Well, since you're an employee of our company, we can't really do that for employees, so you're gonna have to quit." So I was like, oh, okay. Well, my dream was to make a movie. So I made that movie and then they put it out. But I had to quit the job. So that kind of started my foray into being the independent contractor lone wolf of the industry, which is an entirely, kind of the second half of my journey. And from there it's up and down. It was tough. I was trying to both be an artist but also make a living. Um,
Yeah.
and kind of in the last decade is where I started to build my independent company first as a temp job doing legal work here, temp job doing legal work there, and then former employers like, hey, we need some extra help, can you help us out reviewing some of these filmmaker contracts for these movies we're picking up for our company? And
Mm.
then one job turned into another. And all of a sudden, there's so much work where I'm actually hiring people to help me. And so that's kind of what's brought me here today is, kind of, as they say, I kind of fell into it. It was my former job, but then it's turned into a small little company now. So that's kind of the bread and butter of what I do now is it's called SHOWBIZ Consultants. And we review documents for film companies and for filmmakers. But excitingly, with good timing, in probably about a month or so, we're going to launch a new division of our company where it's a do-it-yourself division for filmmakers, so
Mm.
they don't have to hire an attorney for $20,000 on their movie. If they just want to take a class and have a checklist on what documents they need, and then download the forms, we're starting a new division of that company called ShowBiz Wise. So
Nice.
that actually soft launches over the next month or so, and will be in beta. But we're really excited about that because that brings kind of the power of learning about film business and contracts into the hands of an independent filmmaker or creator, even podcasters. So if you want to learn about that aspect and kind of shore up your business acumen, that can be done for under $500, under $1,000, as opposed to, hiring attorneys for 5, 10, $20,000. Um, so
I
that's an exciting part of what we're doing now.
That sounds so exciting and it's relevant because there's so many people getting into podcasting and the movie industry and wanting to really do well, but they don't have a lot of that startup money. And so I love that you're kind of bridging that, filling that gap to help
The in
them.
between.
Yeah, that in
The in between the
between.
big stars
Yes.
and the small influencers, let's say.
Yeah.
I don't know if you never really mentioned influencers, so you did say podcast, so I don't know if
Yeah, it's for anybody because I mean it's law and contracts. I mean, my background is in film and it is kind of geared to at least in its current iteration, it's geared towards filmmakers who need to deliver 80 different documents to a distributor in order to get that check. But but anybody, even if it's just one person behind your phone, you
yeah.
should be protected. So
Right, right.
this allows people to kind of protect themselves. But it gives them the option to feel what they want to monetize eventually, and the distributor is going to ask for those documents. It gives people that flexibility between protecting yourself and also monetizing.
Nice, nice. And I feel like you just shared just some incredible work that you've done just with this project now, this current project or business launch, and then all the things that you did before. And there's a lot of people in who are wanting to get into the entertainment film industry. So I'm kind of curious, did you grow up in a big city? Like, how did you grow? Tell us a little bit about how you grew up, because you mentioned there was some challenges. And I think sometimes people think, oh, maybe Walter or whoever got to this point and it was that easy for them. And you talked about a few different jobs of balancing everything. So tell us how you kind of got started. Did you love film when you were growing up, and then kind of that transition?
Um, yeah, I mean, I started probably as far from the entertainment industry as you can. I mean, my both my parents are doctors, and both my older brothers ended up becoming a dentist and a doctor.
Mm.
So I kind of got shoot, I you know, I my choices were kind of become a doctor or lawyer or loser. So it's that kind of Asian pressure. So
Yes,
um,
yes.
Yeah.
It's
so
so
um
common.
Yeah. So yeah, the pivotal moment, wow, it's weird talking about it as a pivotal moment, but when I was doing an internship, in my junior year in college, I think, it was in Orlando, and I was drawn to entertainment, of course. So I did an internship at Universal and for a commercial production company on the MGM lot, and I noticed there was classes at the Valencia Community College nearby. There's legal aspects of film, in addition to like directing and cinematography. I was like, oh wow, this is amazing. I've always wanted to learn about this stuff. So now I can just kind of drive over after my internship and then learn about it. And then I took a legal aspects of film class. And then that's when the light bulb clicked. Hey, I can be. I'm definitely don't have the grade to be a doctor or the discipline or the brains. But you know, I can get into entertainment law and I can be a professional. So that was kind of my family's influence is to be a professional. But I can also have a foot in the entertainment industry. So it was kind of the best of both worlds, in a way, and that was the kind of the pivotal moment when I decided to go to law school and do entertainment law. You know, specifically entertainment law, and get into the film industry, not litigation, not family law, not bankruptcy or whatever. It's just like I am only going to be an entertainment lawyer. Um,
Wow.
but but you know, I mean, even going back further, speaking to your point, you know, they have a saying that being a filmmaker, you don't choose being a filmmaker, it chooses you. So as a kid, yeah, I was super into movies and maybe more so than a movie fan, like the film industry. I would love watching those making of videos. Um,
Mm.
you know, and gosh, at the time, I mean, it wasn't even there was no internet. Dating myself, you know, it was just like on TV shows, like the making of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and then I would buy the books, like the you know, the sketchbook for how they created the characters in Star Wars. So I was just naturally fascinated by that stuff,
Mm.
and even in when I was 10 or in fifth grade, I would draw my own comics. So you know, I mean, it's like you can tell when a child is drawn towards creativity, you know, specifically storytelling, because I wasn't just drawing, I was actually telling stories with my comics. And
Wow.
you know, also in the early days of, you know, the video cameras, literally making my own movies. Um, so, you know, I mean, that's, you know, you find your passion finds you.
Yeah.
So eventually over time, you know, it clicked together. And, you know, I would say anyone who's has that inkling, where you are drawn towards creativity, you know, you have to listen to your heart, so to speak. Even if you have bills to pay, and life goes in one direction or another, I mean, you can't you should not live your life denying yourself.
Yes.
So, you know, and even I say that, you know, it could be arguably that going to law school was kind of, you know, maybe not denying myself, but, you know, not fully jumping into being a creator.
And
Um,
I was gonna ask that. I was like, just because for folks out there, Walter is a good friend of mine, and I know both of his parents. But is you being a lawyer, kind of the, well, I'll be a lawyer so that it'll be okay for mom and dad to accept that I really want to go into the entertainment industry more than anything. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, did being a was when as you start saying about, oh, is entertainment law the catalyst or whatever, but did you choose to become a lawyer to be able to do the passion stuff, or did the passion come first and then, you see what I'm saying? You know what? I don't know if I'm making sense.
No, you're making total sense. Actually, it was probably 50-50. I mean, we're talking about, I'm getting up there in the year. I'm Gen X, so in the 90s, there was no internet until like the mid 90s, really. So Hollywood was a million miles away. So it wasn't really like a viable career to be
Mm,
in creative. I grew up in Florida. You're not even in LA or New York. So
Right,
what are you going to do with your life? Um, so law school was kind of, I mean, I was always kind of attracted to business, and being, an entrepreneurial. So law school was in that sphere. And then, being in entertainment law, it was like, oh, that's a safe career. You know,
mm,
I mean, I had no idea how to move out to LA or New York and jump into the film career or creative career. I mean, if I rolled the dice, I could have gone to like film school or art school. But at the time, I mean, there's no way my parents would have supported that. Not even remotely. So
yeah,
so part of it was kind of, I don't know if I did it to keep them happy, but more because to play it safe.
right,
Um I mean, they and lots of Asian immigrant parents, particularly professionals, it's about safety. Um
right,
and I'm not gonna blame them for that because the culture that they came from, like in the Philippines, there's like a huge disparity between, economic, levels.
right,
So if you're a professional and you have an education, then you are, economically at least, in a different stratosphere. So they came from that.
yeah.
And being professionals afforded them the opportunity to come to America and chase the American dream.
Mm,
So, they're very focused on that direction.
right.
So, I mean that the upbringing leaned towards playing it a bit safer as opposed to, oh, I'm just gonna become a street artist and grab a paint can and live that life.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean that at least that was my path. It was kind of safe, but still pursuing it. Um, but it's different now. I mean, that was in the 90s. Friends of mine, they've left LA for various reasons. And it's like, well, even though you moved to Chicago because your husband got a job and you're an actress, I mean, your studio is right here.
Mm,
You can, the technology and the way things are, you can be a creator from anywhere. So
yeah.
it's so different now. But at the time, that was my path because that's what was afforded to me and what seemed to make sense.
And that was actually one of the things that I was going to ask you, coming from um, coming from the East Coast, and then having, again, being a Gen X, and you kind of have followed the growth of the internet, right? You yourself moved from really a small town, and then I guess if you call Gainesville or Orlando a small town, but at least coming from the East Coast, you went to the West Coast because you wanted to fulfill that dream. But
Mhm.
then, as in your friend that just got married and moved to Chicago, and you saying that it's more worldwide, no, seeing kind of that shift in how things have kind of evolved to, do you then, how do you see at least Asian Americans, and trying to tie, the Asian American diaspora there, how do you see, is there,
Excuse me.
is there a growth? We had a Dr. Chang, one of our past guest speakers, who says, I put it out there and said, like, oh, there seems to be more, like there is more of a coming out now for Asian Americans, not just in the film industry, but also in the music industry and all that stuff. And he's like, I need to, uh, I want to delve a little bit more into the researching of that. He's like, but I don't think that there's more. I think that it's more noticeable, but not that there's more of us. It's just more kind of like um marketed or promoted or something, And so I guess I'm asking you, that is, do you see a difference? I mean, since you kind of grew up a little bit, with the industry, do you see a difference, at least with Asian Americans, um our representation now, at least within the film industry, because that is what you're in.
Yeah, that's a fascinating question. And we live in such an interesting time, especially if you're the Gen X era, maybe even Gen Y. But yeah, if you're my age when you went to college in the 90s, I mean, we're the last analog generation. Um, the kids today, they have the entire knowledge of the history of the world here. We didn't have that. So, I think that's reflected in society. Um, back then the Asian entertainment scene was your Mr. Miyagi or the very few people who represented us on screen, and then your local thing. We had our local, our talent shows at University of Florida. So it was very localized as far as the Asian American scene, and then there was no national representation.
Mm.
So, and I think with all things technology and internet, 2.0 and 3.0, the all of these smaller communities started to being exposed. Not just the communities, just every little niche in the world was got out there by the internet.
Yeah. So it's the exposure. I guess that was the word I was looking for. It's not that there's more of us, it's more, or there's more out there, um, but more exposure into the little pockets worldwide, right?
Yeah, yeah, and to me, there's two watershed moments in Asian American exposure to the media and entertainment industry. I mean, one was YouTube, which and like it's not just Asians, but it's funny. Asians are so incredibly talented, and singers, dancers, visually. Um, the YouTube and the internet allowed the artist at home to show their talent to the world, without the
Yeah,
gatekeepers, without
right.
somebody giving you $1 million to make a movie, without someone anointing you. I choose you, and you will be the next big star. Um, the internet changed that, and specifically YouTube. So that's where you saw a lot of this Asian American talent, and a lot of the early YouTube stars, in the late 2010s, early teens, they were Asian American. So I feel like that was the first moment where a lot of us saw, hey, that guy looks like me, and he's famous. He has like 1 million followers or whatnot. And this person is successful being creative. So that initially gave our community license to say, you can do this, you can be creative, and then you can actually make a living in this new internet economy, if not get rich. So that was kind of the first wave. The second wave is obviously Crazy Rich Asians, because that's where the powers that be said, we are going to spend $35 million and make this, and then spend another 50 million marketing it. And that's where the rest of the world saw us, and was like, oh, okay, now I hate to put it this way, but like, oh, being Asian is cool, because it was a successful movie, came from a successful book, so that kind of brought us into the for lack of a better term, the white living rooms and the non-Asian living rooms, you know.
Yeah.
And then there was like it steamrolled from there. I think Crazy Ex-Girlfriend was a TV series,
Hmm.
sort of white woman, but the love interest was a Filipino-American male, Vincent Rodriguez.
Mhm.
So that kind of gave permission to, hey, you can be attracted to an Asian American male, which is this whole other thing, you know. Um, and then there was Fresh Off the Boat, which is a TV series on ABC that ran for a few seasons.
Yeah.
So now you see this momentum of Asian American faces in mainstream media, because like YouTube and the internet was, it's very niche. You could have 5 million followers, but no one's ever heard of you. Um,
Yeah.
so now we kind of got into the mainstream media, so to speak. And then I might add one more uh, shift, paradigm shift, if you will, is the streaming. With started with Netflix, obviously, but then the other channels. You can go onto Netflix and find Filipino movie in Tagalog of all things.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
so my background is in film distribution. That just simply would not have happened because it's like, oh, if I'm going to put a Filipino movie or a Pakistani movie or a movie in Swahili, any foreign film or small independent film, to put that into theaters requires tremendous amounts of money. I mean, the old metric would be for every theater you put it in, you're going to spend $10,000 in marketing.
Wow.
So your average studio release is at 2 to 3 thousand theaters. So how many millions of that is, minimum are you spending? And small independent films are in what, 10, 50, 200 theaters. So that's already cost prohibitive. Um,
Yeah.
for this movie that's not even English that people might not want to read. So I mean, streaming puts different faces and different languages in your living room. Again, on top of the internet, on top of the mainstream media, streaming put other faces, at the press of a button. So, so yeah, I mean, the exposure for Asian Americans has, gradually increased with those paradigm shifts. Um, but I mean, it's always ever evolving. There's a lot of we kind of evolved with technology, but but it's going to be changing again. So who knows where it's going?
Yes, with AI too. I was just thinking, like, with that transition with, well, of course, just the internet, but then now the movies, the theaters are becoming irrelevant now, right? And then, or not as relevant. And then Netflix and all of that is kind of getting that scene. And then I'm curious with that AI, what will that, how that will might change the film industry too, if.
Oh yeah, I mean it's exciting, but it's also terrifying. Because I mean, two recent news stories. I mean, one, um, just in the last couple of days, a lot of actors are pushing against someone who's pushing a digital AI actor. And then they made an announcement, oh, we're gonna get signed to an agency, very soon. And then all of these actors like Emily Blunt and a lot of people were like, well, you're saying this is the next digital Scarlett Johansson. There's already Scarlett Johansson. Hire her. You know?
Right.
Um,
Right.
and then maybe like a month ago, there was a AI recording artist that was supposedly signed to $1 million deal, which is really weird. Why don't you just take that $1 million and make your own recording artist? Uh,
Right.
but yeah, I mean, it is abs. I think life in general, particularly entertainment industry, but life in general is vastly going to change in the next 10 years, 10 to 15 years, maybe more so than any time in history. And that's a big statement. I mean, but if you look back in the last 20 years with the internet and computers, I
Mhm.
mean, civilization has changed more in the last 20 years than it has. And then even, if you go back further, last 30 or 40 years with technology, it's changed. So because you sitting at home or in your chair, you can think, oh, I want to see a movie about an Asian American James Bond, but set on the moon. And then in 10 minutes, it's gonna render and spit out a movie like that. I mean, it's gonna be incredible. Which is also scary because then what are all the artists in the world gonna do?
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
Yeah. Eh, eh, No, go ahead. No, I was gonna say, I mean, like what a writing off on what you're saying about the scariness of the next thing. Just K-pop Demon Hunters, for instance, it's such a big I mean, it's just all over right now. So is there now a trend? Because I'm seeing more of the, do you call it animation? But more of that animated kind of format getting out there in terms of even movies to watch.
Yeah.
Before it was just your regular, I don't know, Superman or Batman or whatever it is. I'm not much into those. I mean, I'm not very much into the films, but is that also a new trend? I don't know. I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, no, that's an excellent point. I mean, because I had talked about kind of Filipino or and Asian Americans in the media. But the part I didn't talk about is the Asian entertainment, K-pop, manga, anime, and that's been around a long time. But in the last 10 years, particularly K-pop, it's exploded. Um,
Exploded.
so the what was that show on Netflix with the the people was playing those games, the Squid Game. I mean,
Yes,
at the
Squid
time that
Game,
was the biggest Netflix show ever watched. And
right.
they're not white. It's not a famous person like Tom Cruise. It's not even English, but people are sitting at home watching and
It's
seeing Asian
crazy.
face, and
Hmm.
connecting with the universality of the story.
Right.
Yes.
So I feel like society, civilization wise, I mean that can only help. Um, but specifically with animation, yeah, I mean I'm a little afraid of animation because um that's dare I say easier to replicate with AI because
Yeah.
AI trains what's on out because it's not the same as looking the term is photoreal. If you're looking at a person, there's this thing called the uncanny valley where if you're a real person looking at a fake digital person, you can kind of tell if it's not a real person.
Right.
And that's called the uncanny valley. Um,
Hmm.
but um, but that's quickly going away. In the last 2 years, I mean, if it's just a still photo, it's impossible now. I mean, you can't tell if it's a real person or a fake person.
Hard.
Um,
Yeah.
and I think in video, it's happening in little spots. I mean, today it's hard to tell uh, for little quick snippets, but in a year, definitely 5 years, you might have like a 90-minute movie where you can't tell, and that's
Wow.
the scary part is, if our
Yeah.
machines are doing everything, then then the human element is lost. Um,
Right.
but
Right.
animation, it's easier to, you don't
Yeah.
have that realism. So yeah, I am scared about the animation industry. I mean I mean, here's the thing what we're talking about as creatives with AI. It's inevitable. I mean, you can complain about it and rail against it, but you can't stop technology. Um,
Yeah.
so you have to figure out how to make it work for you. And
And how do we adjust?
yeah, yeah. So, as artists and creatives, everyone is trying to figure that out. Because we're trying not to become obsolete. So, yeah,
And
that
it's not just creatives, it's
Yeah.
everywhere out there, right? How do how do we survive as humans, as real
Yeah.
people?
Right. Right.
Oh yeah, even in my legal profession, it's taking over. Um, I um, in 10, I don't know about 5, I'm definitely 10 years. I mean, I don't know. Are you going to need to spend $300 hours on a lawyer? When you can just kind of, chat GPT law your way through it, to answer basic questions. I mean, I wouldn't recommend that now because it's still wrong a lot, but
You
I
shouldn't
mean.
have said it. Shh.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, no, it's gonna change everything. I mean, if we do this podcast in another 2, 5, 10 years, I mean, we're gonna have completely different conversations.
Yeah, yeah, that's so it's fascinating. And but I feel like through it all, through the many years that you've been involved, you've been so resilient
Mhm.
to the many changes and
Right.
with your personal changes as far as like entertainment lawyer and then moving into filmmaking, but also with the world. You've kind of changed with the world, which is beautiful. And I think that new project that you're working on, the new business line is changing with the world, right? You are actually changing with the world, giving them a product, giving everyone a product that is more that people will want and do want. So I feel like with everything, you've been just incredibly resilient
Mhm.
with with all of the changes and many technological changes as well.
So my question to you, Walt, is now to kind of tie it all out is, um, if somebody doesn't have the maybe means to become a lawyer, but has a dream like you to become a creative, or to be in the film industry, what is your advice to them?
A good question. I mean, a couple things. I mean, one, basically, you can do what you need to do and learn what you need to do on your own. And then two is find your tribe and community. So, as speaking towards doing it on your own, I mean, like I said, you can the phone cameras are just incredibly high quality now. I mean, there's 4K. I mean, people don't even have like 4K TVs. I mean, while you're shooting on 4K, you know, I mean, you want a great image, but you know, the TV and the audio don't have even match when people are gonna watch your thing. But you know, you can learn everything that you need to learn on the internet or get an online class, or buy a book the old-fashioned way. So you know, that's what I did. I mean, I had a library of like a bunch of books that, you know, I poured through. Um, and you know, anyone can kind of do what they want to do on their own. So that's access to education and resources should not be a barrier. It was in the 90s when Kevin Smith made his movie for $5,000 or whatever. I mean, that was kind of like the moment. Kevin Smith and Robert Rodriguez, who made El Mariachi, um, you know, for $5,000, and then he's now become, you know, a giant filmmaker. But you know, there's kind of no excuse. And the other part, which you know you can't do by yourself, by definition, is finding your tribe and your community. So that can be done wherever you're at. I mean, even if it starts out as your family, like helping you make your short films. But wherever you are, there are other creatives out there. You know, and then obviously in certain cities and areas, there's going to be more. So I mean, my experience was with the Filipino and Asian community, because in college I was very much involved with the Filipino Student Association through my older brothers who were in it. I eventually became president, and that's when I got a taste for leadership and community building. So when I moved out to LA, I joined a Filipino organization, which was all eight industries. And then maybe around 2010 or so, we were like, hey, we have so many people in our organization that are in the entertainment industry. Let's do an entertainment subdivision. So we did that, and it was wildly successful. I mean, like half the people in the organization were in entertainment. So we eventually turned that into a standalone Filipino-American organization, which is called Philam Creative now. So I was a co-founder of that in 2010. And it's still going, actually. Amazingly, 15 years later, we became a nonprofit eventually. And what started out with five people in a coffee shop talking about their dreams and how we're not represented, no one sees our stories. What about us? Now it's a nonprofit. We just had our third annual Film Creative Film Festival, where we collected a lot of short films and then three feature films, and then had our own short film or film festival, a 3 day film festival, which is amazing. I mean, 10 years ago we couldn't have even dreamed, you know, of pulling this off. But that's been my community, is primarily the Filipinos in the entertainment industry and also Asian Americans. Before we had the Filipino group, I was part of Asian American groups.
Nice.
So, and it's, you know, it's a tough industry. It's a tough, you know, craft. So you kind of need your tribe for support. You know, not just, you know, I mean, whatever you're making, you need, you know, sound people and camera people and actors and creatives. But it's also the emotional support. Because it's a marathon, not a sprint. I mean, this is part of who you are, so you're not going to ideally not do it once and then never do it again. You want to do it throughout your life, um, or at least create these projects. So, you know, you need those people around you, for the ups and downs, highs and lows. So, yeah, I mean, between the resources that you can muster yourself and then your community, I mean, there's really no excuse anymore. So that puts it on you. So you have to figure out your thing, and then it's. I feel like you have to feel like it's a matter of time before you do this, because a lot of people are intimidated or scared. I don't know how to do this. You know, I don't know how to collect people, or I don't know anything. Um, you know, it's, you have to consider it's just a matter of time, whether you're just drawing something or putting a podcast or shooting a film. It's going to happen. That's the mindset shift that you have to go through, because you got to be scared every step of the way. And there was a saying in the film industry: if you want people to believe something is real, or you want to believe it's real, pick a shoot date. It's like, we are shooting December 1st. It's like, oh, do you have the money yet? No, we're working on it, but we're shooting December 1st. Oh, do you have the locations? Not yet, but we're shooting this summer because
Great.
then everybody's like, oh, well, like I guess this is happening. I better jump on the train, you know?
Yeah.
So, and you should do that for yourself mentally and emotionally because that it's like, okay, I have set this goal and I am going to reach it. I don't know how, but by this time, whether it's a date or, a goal, I mean, just set that for yourself, and you have to have that mindset.
That's such a great mindset because I think it's so relevant, not just in the entertainment industry, but for everybody, because I think we all have these fears and can sometimes pop up. I'm not good enough, or whatever the case is, or I can't do it. I don't have the resources, like you said, there, but just being able to say, like, hey, this is going to happen. And then all of a sudden people think, well, how we ask a better question, right? We say, well, how can we get this? How can we make this
How can we
happen?
make it happen?
Versus this isn't possible type thing. So I love that inspiring feedback for everybody too, and tip.
Well, Walt, thank you so very much for giving us your time. I know you are all the way over in California, so we had to, be able to find a good time for both, for both of us that's in here in the East and there in the West Coast. But thank you so much for your time, for allowing us to interview you, for just like being so positive, helping, helping with our community, Asian Americans, all the work that you're doing consistently. I follow you everywhere on your social media. I'm always clicking, so you'll always see my like button and whatever. But thank you again. And the one thing that I will remember that you said that may even be the title of this podcast is it's a marathon, not a race.
Oh, that's a great one. And how can people stay connected?
Yeah, how do they find you, whether it's for the Film Creative, or how do you want people to find you?
Oh, sure. So our the Phil Creative is pretty easy. It's at Phil Creative for the social media or philmcreative.org. So for my upcoming company, it's called ShowBiz Wise. So our social media will be launching at ShowBiz Wise or showbizwise.com.
Okay.
And then for people, so that's for people
Wait, Showbiz Wise,
yeah.
WYZE or
ISE.
ISE?
Yeah, WISE, Showbiz
Okay.
Wise. Yeah. So that'll be launching shortly in the next few weeks. So that's for people who you don't have a lot of money but you have a lot of time. For people who have money but no time, our company is Showbiz Consultants, where we kind of just do it for you or walk you through, the steps, hold your hand. That's Showbiz Consultants. So that's showbizconsultants.com. And then my personal creative stuff and my travel vlog, well, that I'm working on anyway, is at Walternate Universe for social media.
Love that. Perfect. So we'll add that to the links for everybody to connect with you if they like. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. It was so fun to hear your story and just your
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and then for everybody out there, thank you for joining us today. Don't forget, we have a couple of accounts. Follow us on our Spotify, Instagram, and TikTok, and we will see you next time.
See you next time, everybody.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye, Walt.
Bye.